I know that the topic of missing and murdered Indigenous women is such a heavy topic for a lot of Canadians, non-Indigenous and Indigenous. The context of it is a really grim context, and people don't like to talk about it a lot because it's such a, like, thinking about anybody being missing, let alone murdered, is a really grim topic. That's why a lot of people don't think it's happening. You know, the number 1,181, like that number is really significant in Rebecca's, Belmore's artwork. And the thing that is really intense about it is because that's the number that we know about. There could be a lot of women who went missing and are not added into those numbers. So I think when she was doing her performance, when she was nailing the nails in that wood, every figure counted. A lot of that number, like, it's not a definite number. It's not going to stay that way. It's always going to be ever changing, depending on the investigations that are going on with the RCMP and with our own families. When she's taken the nail, and the nail is such a hard, sharp object, and I think that's really symbolic to the idea of having that individual person who went missing. It's such an intense thought, and then to nail something like that into an organic thing is like bringing that back to the earth, like the body and the mind, bringing that idea back down to the earth, kind of where the woman, and especially being Indigenous, where kind of where they belong. You know, instead of out in ditches or in trash cans or garbage dumps and that, it's bringing them kind of back home to the land. And that was one of my first thoughts when I was reading up on the artist. It was interesting to watch her perform and see everybody's emotions in the crowd and that. And it was really mesmerizing. And at the end of the performance, it kind of like seeing her speak that number, 1,181, kind of like reverberated throughout, and having her say it over and over and over and over again was like, it brought more like weight to that number. That number is always going to be ever changing. And that's the scary thing about it, is it's been happening, missing and murdered Indigenous people, and it's always going to kind of happen. And I think that's the reality of it, and being Indigenous in these communities across Canada, because it's a really hard topic to talk about, because like even I've known people, I've known people who went missing. I've known people who've been murdered. And coming from an Indigenous community, it's kind of sad to say that it's normal. It's been so normalized that it's really hard, because I'm 33 years old and I have a son who's 14 years old, and I was trying to tell him that growing up, like, I'm only 33 years old, and I've known like a lot of death in my life. And so this performance and Rebecca Belmore and what she's talking about is really encouraging to know that people are talking about it and that artworks like that exist, because it's informing the public and it's talking about it in a way where this is happening and this is a reality. And I guess it's just hard to see people when they don't realize that this is happening, because I've known it all my life.